The interrogation room was stale, smelling faintly of disinfectant and desperation, the usual cocktail of cop shops across America. Detective Miller leaned forward, his gaze locked on Marcus Russ Johnson. Russ, a mountain of a man with eyes that darted around like cornered rats, was trying to play it cool, but beads of sweat dotted his shaved head under the harsh fluorescent lights. "Let's cut the crap, Russ." Miller's voice was gravel, worn down by years on the force. "We know you're tangled up in the Arthur Davies murder, a man bludgeoned to death in his own home. 15-year-old Brianna Davis, his own daughter, knee-deep in blood. Don't insult my intelligence pretending you're just a concerned bystander." Russ shifted in his metal chair, the sound echoing in the small room. "Concerned? Detective, I'm way beyond concerned. I'm invested. See Bree and her friend Devin, they're good kids. Misguided, maybe, but good at heart." He offered a slick, practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Now, I'm a businessman, Detective, and I see opportunity here. A chance to cooperate. We can make a deal." Miller raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "A deal? You're in no position to be making deals, Russ. You're knee-deep in an accessory to murder charge." Russ's smile vanished, replaced by a hard edge. "Oh, but I am, Detective. See, I know things. Things about Bree and Dev. Things you need to know to help them. And I'm willing to share for a price." He paused, letting the threat hang in the air. "Let's just say, I have a condition. Bree and Dev, they need to be comfortable, safe, no rough stuff. And I want assurances. Real assurances about their well-being. Get them released. Get them counseling. Get them out of this pressure cooker." Miller chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "You're threatening me, Russ? In my own precinct?" "Threatening? No, Detective, just negotiating. But understand this. Push me, and you'll unleash something you don't want to see. Let's just say, I have mood swings. Big ones. Folks call it bipolar. And when Russ goes bipolar, things get unpredictable. Real messy." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "You want to play hardball, Detective? Fine. But don't come crying to me when this whole damn case blows up in your face because you didn't play ball with Russ." Miller stared him down, unflinching. "You think you're some kind of puppet master, Russ? Controlling the strings? You're just a bit player in a tragedy you helped create. And threats? They don't scare me. They just make me want to dig deeper. So why don't you tell me, Russ, just exactly how you got involved in turning a teenage girl into a cold-blooded killer?" The Davies house, usually a picture of suburban tranquility, was now a grotesque tableau of violence. Yellow tape crisscrossed the manicured lawn, flapping like morbid ribbons in the morning breeze. Inside, the air was thick with the metallic tang of blood, a smell that clung to the back of your throat and made your stomach churn. Arthur Davies lay sprawled on the living room floor, a grotesque parody of repose. His skull was caved in, a spiderweb of cracks radiating from the point of impact. Blood had pooled, staining the beige carpet a horrifying crimson. Sarah and Olivia, Arthur's older daughters, had found him. Their screams, raw and primal, had ripped through the quiet street, shattering the illusion of peace forever. The story, as it began to unravel, was uglier than anyone could have imagined. Brianna, barely 16, had been whispering poison in Devin's ear for weeks. Her father, Arthur, was a monster, she claimed, abusive, controlling. And now she was pregnant with Devin's baby. They had to escape, to start a new life, free from Arthur's tyranny. The seed of murder, planted and nurtured in the fertile ground of teenage angst and delusion, had begun to sprout. Their first attempt was clumsy, amateurish. A Saturday night, when Arthur was supposed to be home alone, Russ, the self-proclaimed protector, had roped Devin into it, a half-baked plan involving a supposed robbery gone wrong. But Arthur hadn't been alone. A friend had stopped by, throwing a wrench into their pathetic scheme. They'd panicked, aborted the mission, and retreated, licking their wounds and plotting anew. The following week they doubled down on desperation. This time Brianna was there, witness and participant. The details were brutal, sickening. Arthur, unsuspecting, had opened the door to his daughter and her boyfriend. Devin, fueled by teenage bravado and Russ's twisted mentorship, had swung the baseball bat with savage force. Again and again and again. Brianna had watched, her young face a mask of something unreadable. Together, they dragged Arthur's lifeless body to the trunk of his own car, driven to a deserted stretch of woods, and dumped him like garbage. They'd stolen his car, a pathetic trophy of their heinous act, thinking they'd gotten away with it, thinking they were clever. In the interrogation room, Brianna sat across from Detective Ramirez. She was small, almost fragile-looking, but her eyes were anything but. They were hard, cold, and locked onto Ramirez's with an unsettling intensity. No tears, no trembling lip, just a chilling defiance. It was as if she was daring him to blink. First, to show weakness. Ramirez, a veteran of countless interrogations, felt a prickle of unease. This wasn't the reaction of a scared, remorseful teenager. This was something different. He read her rights, the familiar Miranda warning, a stark counterpoint to the unnatural calm radiating from the girl across the table. Brianna listened, her gaze unwavering, her expression blank. It wasn't understanding he saw, but something closer to contempt. Brianna's lies were as smooth and polished as river stones. School, she was doing great. Custody arrangements with her dad, perfectly normal. The abuse, just discipline, misunderstandings. But beneath the carefully constructed facade, Ramirez sensed something rotten. Her description of Arthur's supposed abuse lacked the raw emotion, the visceral pain he'd come to expect. It felt rehearsed, scripted, more like a justification than a confession, and the way she spoke about the murder itself. No remorse, no horror, just a detached recounting of events as if she were describing a trip to the mall, not the brutal slaying of her own father. It was revenge, cold and calculated, not regret that dripped from her carefully chosen words. The disposal of the body, the stolen car. She spoke of these details with an almost chilling matter-of-factness, further cementing the image of a girl far beyond her years in terms of depravity. Jessica Carter, Brianna's ex-best friend, painted a different picture, a far more disturbing one. Jessica, a bright, articulate young woman, spoke with a mix of sadness and fear. Brianna, she explained, was a master manipulator, a pathological liar who thrived on chaos and drama. Stories twisted, truths bent, friendships shattered. It was all grist for Brianna's insatiable need for attention and control. Jessica had ended their friendship months ago, unable to stomach Brianna's constant deceit and increasingly erratic behavior. "She's different, Detective," Jessica had said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not just teenage drama. It's dark. I swear sometimes I think she's beyond help, beyond anything the FBI could even categorize." Jessica recounted incident after incident, fabricated illnesses, stolen jewelry blamed on others, elaborate schemes to sabotage other people's relationships. It was a litany of manipulation and malice, painting a portrait of a young woman capable of almost anything. Detective Hayes, tasked with interrogating Devin, took a different tack. He played the hero card. "Devin," Hayes began, his voice low and empathetic. "We know about Arthur Davies. We know what Brianna told you, about the abuse. We understand you were trying to protect her, to be her hero." Hayes leaned in, making eye contact. "You were protecting the woman you love, right? That's what heroes do, Devin. They protect the innocent." He watched Devin's reaction, searching for a crack in his carefully constructed facade. Devin, younger, more easily swayed than Brianna, seemed to respond to the appeal. His eyes flickered, his breathing became shallow, and a nervous tick appeared at the corner of his mouth. Hayes pressed on, gently nudging Devin towards the truth, framing the murder not as a senseless act of violence, but as a misguided attempt at chivalry, a desperate act of love gone horribly wrong. Devin's ventilating behaviors, as the interrogation manuals called them, were becoming more pronounced. He fidgeted, ran a hand through his already disheveled hair, and his leg bounced nervously. The pressure was getting to him. Meanwhile, in another room, Russ was still posturing, still trying to control the narrative. He claimed to own a protection business, vaguely defined but sounding ominous. He spoke of wanting to create a community for homeless youth, a haven, he said, where he could be a protector, a shepherd guiding lost lambs. It was a bizarre mix of delusion and self-aggrandizement, a desperate attempt to paint himself as some kind of noble figure, despite the grim reality of his actions. Russ's delusions of grandeur were almost comical, if the situation weren't so tragic. He spoke of power, of respect, of being owed something by the world. He was confrontational, even when out of sight of law enforcement, pacing his holding cell like a caged animal, muttering threats and pronouncements of his own importance. He was convinced he was smarter than everyone else, that he could outmaneuver the police, manipulate the system. His arrogance was breathtaking, his disconnect from reality profound. Brianna's story about the timeline of events surrounding the stolen car started to unravel. Inconsistencies piled up, small contradictions that chipped away at her carefully constructed alibi. Then came the physical evidence, a faint, almost imperceptible line on the side of her foot. Forensic analysis confirmed it, a contusion, consistent with kicking a baseball bat. The murder weapon, the line on her foot, a silent witness, whispered volumes, contradicting her denials and tightening the noose around her carefully constructed lies. Devin had stopped taking his ADHD medication weeks before the murder. His mother, distraught and bewildered, explained the change in his demeanor. Without the medication, Devin became impulsive, easily agitated, prone to outbursts. The controlled, quiet boy she knew had been replaced by someone volatile, unpredictable. Could the medication withdrawal have contributed to his descent into violence? It was a question that haunted investigators, a grim reminder of the complex web of factors that led to Arthur Davies's brutal death. Brianna, when pressed about her feelings, offered a single chilling word: empty. She felt empty. A void where emotion should have been. Psychologists flagged it as a potential symptom of a deeper pathology, a chilling glimpse into the emotional wasteland that might lie beneath her composed exterior. Her psychopathy, if that's what it was a puzzle, a terrifying enigma wrapped in the guise of a seemingly ordinary teenage girl. The accounts from Jessica and others only reinforced this disturbing possibility. In the midst of the horror, there was a heartbreaking banality to it all. Brianna and Devin's teenage romance, fueled by hormones and fantasy, had curdled into something monstrous. Brianna revealed conversations about love, marriage, a future built on lies and blood. She spoke of a potential pregnancy, Devin's child, a life they planned to create from the ashes of Arthur Davies's life. The twisted irony was almost unbearable. A teenage dream turned into a bloody nightmare, all fueled by delusion, manipulation, and the chilling emptiness in a young girl's heart.